Hey there, and welcome to the Unleash Your Greatness Within podcast. Listen, you can find this podcast here on YouTube, no problem. You can also find it by downloading it on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, and many other places. Hey, I invite you to go subscribe. In today's message, I just quickly want to share with you how to be a champion. What is the makeup of a champion? What is the slight edge? And what are the 6 D's of success?
You already know. My passion and my mission to help you unleash your greatness within. My heart goes out to the underdogs that's on their way. If you think you can go from good to great, okay, let's motivate. GreatnessWithin.com. TJ Hoisington. GreatnessWithin.com.
You see, last weekend, listen, I had the opportunity to speak at a youth conference. A lot of youth. It was awesome, and I love the youth. I love pouring thoughts and ideas into them. So I thought I would do is share that same message that I shared with them over the weekend so that you can get the benefits of this message. It has been my passion for now over 20 years of helping people unleash their greatness within. And I told the youth, as I tell you right now, it's not about whether or not you have it. It's not about whether you failed in the past or not. It doesn't matter. It's about discovering it. And it's about living on faith to believing that there's always possibility in front of you. That requires sort of an optimistic thinking. You may say, but that's fake though. No, it's not, right? You're going to find whatever you're looking for. You can find the evidence in your world to confirm whatever you believe to be true. What I suggest people do is suspend their current reality, meaning suspend your current beliefs that you have right now that are probably holding you back from that next level, right? Suspend them. Listen to the things that I share with you and pay attention to what resonates with your soul, and then act on it. And you will realize you're much more capable than you think you are. It makes me think of the gentleman who was playing the piano late one night in the lounge. And as he was playing the piano, a fella came up to him and said, "Hey, I'm tired of just hearing you plucking on the piano. I want to hear some singing." And the pianist looked up at the person that was in the lounge and said, "I don't sing, I only play the piano." Well, the fella was a regular there, went over to the bartender, who was the boss, and said, "Hey, I want to hear some singing, or I'm going to leave and take my business somewhere else." Well, the bartender came over to the pianist and said, "Hey, these people in here, they want to hear some singing, just not playing the piano." And it just so happened that this person was in a trio, and he didn't normally sing. They had a lead singer that would normally do the singing that wasn't there that evening. And so he was kind of all by himself that night. And it just so happened his job was on the line. And the pressure mounted, and eventually nobody ever sang the song, Sweet Lorraine, like Nat King Cole. You see, he was not the lead vocalist, but we all recognize Nat King Cole today as someone who had a legendary voice. And to think that there was a point in his own life where he had to suspend reality and fear for a moment long enough to take a leap beyond what he was comfortable of doing before he realized he was more capable than he thought he was. And I say the same thing for you. What decisions do you need to make that you're holding yourself back from achieving that higher level of success for yourself based on competing and comparing with your own best self, right? Not competing and proving yourself to someone else, just being the best person that you could be. Hey, what are those inner goals that you've always longed to achieve, that you've made excuses that prevent you from achieving those goals or even taking a step? Listen, part of realizing the greatness within is facing your fears and realizing, hey, TJ said that if I trust the unknown and I keep taking action and I keep, planting those seeds, that eventually the fruit will come, the growth will come, the results will come. And I say that again here today. It's the same message I've been sharing for 20 years. So what is the makeup of a champion? Understand the secret of the slight edge. If you look at a champion and the runner-up, so think of it as a gold medalist and a silver medalist. Oftentimes, it's just a matter of 0.2 of a second difference in time that separate the gold from the silver. right? It's very slight edge. The chasm between success and the runner-up or failure is not that huge. It's usually a small degree difference. So the question is, who wanted it more is the question. Because one thing that you have to understand is you don't have to work double the amount of time. You don't have to practice double amount of the time to be the best, but you do need to give a little bit more. And I'm going to share that in the 6 Ds of success that I have for you. But just keep in mind, you have much more capability than you think you do right now. And you will never, I tell my own kids this, you will never recognize all the talent and ability that you have that will make you a champion unless you're willing to make a decision, plan, and then execute on it. Even though when you step out of your comfort zone, it creates anxiety, tension, feedback. When you do that, woo, I tell you what, you recognize you're more capable, like Nat King Cole. You recognize you're more capable than you think you are right now. And life is about pushing the boundaries, not to measure up to someone else, just to become all that you are capable of becoming. What's your legacy? What do you want to leave behind? What footprint do you want to leave? Or are you going to do what Bob Moawad used to always say, who I wrote the book, The Secret of the Slight Edge with? He would say, are you going to leave footprints in the sand, or are you going to leave butt prints in the sand? All right, it's a choice. And life is about choice. And that's the one thing human beings have compared to the animal kingdom, is we have the ability to think and to think about what we're thinking about. Question for you. Can you program or condition an animal? You say, of course. Of course you can. Well, the question is, can you program and condition a human being? And you say again, of course. Of course you can, right? But here's what separates human beings from the animal kingdom. And Stephen Covey pointed this out. Although animals can be programmed, and although humans can be programmed, Stephen Covey would say, only humans, through self-discipline and vision and hard work, can overcome your own programming. Wow, that's what separates you from the animal kingdom. The ability to think about what you're thinking about and make adjustments and decide that you can do things differently, think bigger, stretch a little farther, recognizing that you're capable. All right, so the difference between the gold and the silver is not because someone worked 50% more than someone else, but a good example of someone that I've always used as an example is Peter Vidmar in the 1984 Olympics. 1984, Peter Vidmar won, I believe it was, 4 gold medals in gymnastics. And one of the things that he said was he made it a habit at UCLA that when practice was over and everybody left the room after 6 hours or whatever the time was, he would stay and practice an additional 15 minutes. That's it. But 15 minutes, he said, over the course of a year is like 92 hours or something like that. Here's the point. You don't have to do double the amount of the next person, but you got to push yourself 2%. You've got to go push your current baseline is here. You separate yourself by pushing yourself a little bit more, an extra 15 minutes, an extra 10 minutes reading a good book, an extra 5 minutes going around the block, an extra time on some exercise. If you're a salesperson, knocking those last 3 doors, because that's where the success is going to come. That's what makes the champion. It's an attitude. It's someone who's willing to push themselves a little bit more than the other person. So that leads us right into the 6 D's of success. And D number 1 is desire. The one thing that separates the high achievers from the average achievers and even the low achievers is who has bigger desire, right? The person who has the biggest desire is going to find a way to win. And that happens no matter in what field I'm talking about. Someone who has a burning desire, as Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, said, a burning desire is the first law that separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Law number 2 define. You have to get specific about what you want. Define, right? I learned when I worked with Tony Robbins in 1999, so a couple decades ago, I worked with Tony Robbins. He would always say, a person with one watch always knows what time it is, but a person with two is never quite sure. I always love that, right? A jack of all trades is a master of none. So you've got to define what it is. You cannot be what Zig Ziglar said is a leaf in the windstorm and then expect to succeed. You've got to get focused, laser focused, based on a specific desire of what you want to achieve. That's going to be really vital. Okay, the third D that's vital for becoming a champion and achieving your goals and your dreams is that you must decide. It's all about making a commitment. I call it in If You Think You Can, my book, If You Think You Can, a true decision, right? Decision, part of the word is incision, to cut off from. And so what you have to do when I say decide, I'm telling you, you've got to make a true decision. A true decision is I am putting my foot in the sand and I'm never going to cross it. I tell you what, this is the decision I'm going to make and I'm going to own it. You've got to own it. And that all comes from the power that you have as a human being that has agency or freedom of choice, right? To make a true decision based on a strong desire and a specific plan, a specific focus. That's really vital. And then the next thing, D number 4, is you've got to dwell on it. One thing you see based on the research coming out of Harvard and many other universities is when you operate from the imagination, as you slow down and you see yourself achieving those goals, all of a sudden, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between something that is, Joyce Brothers taught this, that knows the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between something that is vividly imagined with emotion or something that really happened. Okay? So it's almost like you can fake it till you make it, although I don't like that terminology. I'd rather you act as if, right? Believing in the possibility. But what that involves is thinking ahead and imagining yourself accomplishing the goal that you've decided upon. When I wrote the Swiss Family Robinson sequel, which is the first Swiss Family Robinson sequel in 100 years. You can go verify this on Wikipedia. Type in Swiss Family Robinson, go to the Swiss Family Robinson Wikipedia page, and down below you'll see adaptation section, and there you'll see my name. I wrote that 400-page book, and I tell you what, the way that I was able to do it, because I had to take a year sabbatical to write that book, the only way I was able to accomplish it was to see in my mind's eye the end result, because writing is not easy for me, even though I've written several books at this point. It takes a lot of effort and it's painful to some degree. I'd rather research, but actually getting detailed in writing, sometimes that slows me down. But I'll tell you what, as you spend time dreaming about it and thinking about it, every moment you're thinking about it, all of a sudden the work involved becomes easy, right? Because it becomes a truth and a reality at the subconscious level. And like I said, the subconscious mind can't tell the difference between something that was vividly imagined or something that really happened, okay? So you've got to use that tool, that subconscious mind, to your benefit. All right, D number 5 is you must drive. Meaning, you've got to take action. You can't lay on your bed and imagine all day long and get excited and inspired laying on your bed dreaming about your goal. You've got to take action. That's going to be key. You got to get out. And yes, you've got to work harder than everybody else, right? You don't have to work 50% harder than everybody else, but you've got to work, as Og Mandino would say, 2%, and that'll separate you from everyone else. Push yourself beyond your comfort zone, and you'll realize you're more capable than you think. And then you got to be, here's the last D. And the last D, research shows this is the only common characteristic among high achievers. And that is the 6th D is determination. You've got to have determination. When you don't see the fruition of your labors, when you don't see the growth, when you don't see the results come in really fast, listen, part of the law of the harvest is you've got to hang in there long enough. It's called delayed gratification, is the third law of the law of the harvest. And you can check that out on my YouTube channel or in my podcast, The Law of the Harvest. I have a whole video there. But delayed gratification, part of taking action and persevering means you've got to be patient long enough to keep taking action despite seeing the growth. And eventually, it's the law of the harvest, you'll eventually see the growth. If you're consistent, if you don't give up, you've got to persevere. And if you'll persevere, you've got it. So, burning desire, you got to have that desire. You got to define it. You've got to make a decision. You got to dwell on it. You then got to drive. You got to take action. And you've got to be determined. Dr. Benjamin Bloom said determination was the only thing that separated. When he studied the top performers in 120 different areas of expertise or industries, right? Athletes, actors, and so forth, business owners, and so forth, out of the University of Pennsylvania, long before Angela Duckworth, long before Martin Seligman, you had Dr. Benjamin Bloom that discovered it was not talent that made the difference. It was determination. In fact, when Dr. Benjamin Bloom interviewed the parents of the high achiever that they were researching and so forth, guess what the parents said? The parents said, you know what? It's interesting. The high achiever's brother or sister was the one that had the natural gifts, but never used it. Maybe you have a sibling you can think about that has a gift or a talent, but fear gets in the way, or they talk themselves out of it, or whatever. I'm telling you, if you do have the gift, hey, that's your secret weapon. If you will nurture that, if you will work at that. And I've always told my children who have all done well physically at sports, I tell you, I've always told them, champions are made when they practice outside of practice. It's giving that little bit outside of practice. And then I would just tell them, hey, believe. It'll come. It'll come. You'll get the results. The muscles will come in. The coordination will come in. As long as you're consistent, it'll all make sense at the right time. And that's my message for you. What makes a champion are those 6 Ds. You've got it. They're all within your control. You're a human being. Don't be a victim. Don't be a scarcity mindset type person that thinks there's only so many resources to go around. Be someone who's willing to name it, to claim it, is what I told these youth. Be an abundance thinker and believe in possibilities. Reach for the stars. If you reach for the moon, you'll probably just get out of orbit. But if you reach for the stars, you'll land on the moon. And better yet, you can maybe sail into the universe if you'll reach for it. And you look at these billionaires that are going to space, they are pushing the frontier of what's possible. Well, you could do that in your own life, but you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice and put some effort towards some things that maybe you currently feel uncomfortable because when you step out into that area, it makes you feel nervous or whatever. Listen, don't recoil. Don't pull back. The moment you feel nervous about something, just close your eyes and step into it. Now, considering that it's safe, I'm not asking you to jump off a cliff or do something crazy. Don't do something dumb. But what I'm saying is, in terms of your goals, if, let's say it's speaking in public, you want to do it, but the moment you think about it, you start talking yourself out of it. I say the moment you start talking yourself out of it is the moment you should stand up in yourself, go do it, trick your mind in such a way that you can go do that speech, own it the moment you're there, realizing that this is what I tell the youth, everybody's favorite subject is themselves. So the moment you're done with your speech, they're not going to be thinking about you anyway. So think about it. Just go and do your best, realizing most people are concerned about their own lives. So just go be the best you can be based on those 6 Ds, and you will be successful. You will unleash your greatness within. I hope this message with all my gusto was beneficial for you. Hey, do me a favor. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. All right, now go unleash your greatness within.